This to-do form component represents a form that we can use to create new to-do items. In order for it to function properly, it receives a prop that is used to set the value of the input. It also receives a function as a prop, and that's how we pass event information, input change events in this case, to its parent component. If another member of our team wanted to use this component in another part of the application, we'd like to be able to ensure they're passing in the correct props. Luckily, React has a mechanism for validating our component input called prop types. So the first step in defining prop types for a component is to reference that component and call its prop types property. And that's going to be equal to an object. And this object will have keys that match our property names. So I'll start with current to do. And we want to specify that current to do should be a string. And we'll do that by calling react.proptypes.string. And it's important to note when we're referencing prop types off of React to pick the type for our property, we want to make sure we use the prop types here with a capital P. And when we're defining the prop types object for our component, we define that property with a lowercase p. So now that that's done, I'm going to go into the browser and open up the DevTools. And I'm going to jump into app.js, and I'm just going to temporarily take this.state.currentToDo out of here. And I'm going to define that as a number. I'm going to save that. And we'll see when the browser refreshes that the value shows up because it'll turn anything into a string. But down here we have this warning, failed prop type, invalid prop current to do of type number, supplied to do form, expected string. So we get a very helpful message that we can go back and we can say, oh, that needs to be a string. So I'll go ahead and put that value back. I'll save that. And when it reloads again, that warning is gone. So now I can go back to do form. And I'm going to specify that I also want a handle input change property. And that should be of type react.proptypes.func. And I'll save that. And that's going to ensure that whatever's passed in to handle input change is a function. So now I'm preventing properties from being passed in that are of the wrong data type. But at this point, both of these properties are basically optional for this component. If you absolutely have to have those properties, and in this case we do for this component to do anything, we want to make sure those things are passed in and not left out. So I can just come in here and I can tack on an is required to any of the properties that I define in prop types. And that'll ensure that the property has to be passed in to avoid that warning in the console. So if I jump back over to the browser, open up the console, and I'm just going to, again, temporarily update app.js. And we'll say we're just not going to pass current to do at all. And when the browser reloads, we'll see the current to do is marked as required, but its value is undefined. So I can just put that back, save it, and my warning goes away. So let's define prop types for a couple more components. So we'll start with our to-do list component. And we'll see here that this basically takes in a single prop called to-dos. So to add that prop type definition, I'm just going to reference to-do list dot prop types, lowercase p, set that equal to an object. And I want to specify to-dos is going to be of type react dot prop types, capital P, dot array. And I need to have that for this to work, so that is required. So we'll save that. When the browser reloads, we don't get any errors, so all of our props are being passed in properly. And now we can go to to-do item.js, and we'll drop down to the bottom, and we'll say to-do item.prop types, again with the lowercase p, set that to equal an object. And to-do item receives an entire to-do object, so that's going to have three properties, name, which is going to be a string, and we'll say that that's required. We're also going to have is complete, and that's going to be a Boolean value, so we'll specify that with bool. We're not going to make this required because if it's undefined, it'll default to falsy, and that's fine. And we're not using it in the component yet, but we are going to need the ID from the to-do, so we'll also accept an ID of type number. and we'll say that is required as well. Again, upon save or browser or reload, we don't have any warnings, so everything's adhering to the prop types we just defined.